What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we're providing you a state of the market stock picks for May 11th, 2023. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing, as we do provide daily and weekly updates to get you prepared for the day and the week ahead in this glorious market. Now, today was the core inflation report. We were essentially coming in expecting to come right on par at 5 from our last report. We had a big drop in the last report and came down to 5. And then today we got 4.9. Now, there was some positives as far as it looked like some rent is coming down. But ultimately, understand that, again, it's still high. Even though things are coming down, it's still great, but they're still high. And that's the concerning part, is that the feds are going to have to remain or keep maybe even adding more interest rates or holding interest rates for a long period of time. Essentially, this is replaying back essentially around that 2008 period where we essentially held rates. I think it was about 15 months before stuff really started breaking. And so at this point, we're already getting a lot of banks breaking. And then on top of everything, we still have high inflation, right? We're still sitting close to 5. So nonetheless, after that, today was an interesting day. We sold off only to push back up towards the end of the day. But ultimately, there was more concerns. There was some information, I believe it was the United Arab Emirates, started shorting. They came out first thing this morning saying they were going to short the U.S. stock market as a recession was coming. And typically, this is what happens right after a pivot is normally when the market prices in a recession. This is something I've been talking about. And so at this point, even with inflation still being high, I talked about even if inflation was on par, that we would bump, but we weren't going to break 4,200. And we didn't break it. And tomorrow we have the PPI. Again, it's intraday move. The market has really been stuck between the 4,200 and the 4,050. We'll see if we can break out of that tomorrow. That will be interesting to see. But ultimately, right now, what we're really concerned about is the next FOMC meeting notes. I believe that's on the 24th. So we got some time before that comes out. Again, that will disclose if the Fed is believing that we are in a recession. Again, they will talk about mild. Powell didn't want to hint about it or anything like that. So again, we'll see what happens with the next couple of weeks. Again, the thing I don't like is that we increased another 25-point basis move over last week, and the banks are eerily quiet. And this is what's concerning, because if we really knew what was going on with the banks, everybody would probably be freaking out, to be honest. But we don't know, and they're purposely keeping it that way. So with that being said, everything is still in bad shape. Even though inflation is coming down, that's great. You have to still be mindful that it could shoot right back up just as quick as it came down and as quick as it went up. And understand that it's taken a very long time to get to where we're at, and we're still aiming for 2%. Technically, I think we were supposed to hit 2% by July. So we still got a long ways to go if we're trying to hit that 2% price target in July. We got one more rate increase before then. So, and then you have the debt limit stuff that's been coming up. Biden came on, and I don't even know really why he talked about the debt limit or even had a discussion about it, because it's not really what he was talking about when he started out the whole conversation. So nonetheless, it was just more of a time killer. He wasn't going to do anything as far as what the debt limit's concerned. But it was just more showing face, and we'll see what happens. Again, the debt limit, banking crisis, the recession, these are big issues, and one of these alone could crater the market. So it's just really seeing what's going to happen. Again, there's heavy manipulation. If we were in a bull market, this stuff wouldn't phase us when we push them back up. But people are too worried because of these. They're aware of these black swans that could potentially play out. And so people aren't willing to put enough risk on, given the current situation that's going on here. So, and then you got a lot of stuff going on with Bitcoin as well. And the ordinals, or the NFTs, essentially for Bitcoin, and how they may be rolling that back, because that may be damaging Bitcoin so much. The fees are getting too high, and people are getting a little upset about that. So we'll see what happens there. But nonetheless, SPX again, we got to break this range. It's starting to look a lot like BA at this point. We're just chopping a lot. Again, the biggest thing to understand here is it's consolidating a lot. So whatever move happens out of this will be big. And again, we deal in probabilities, and there's a highly probability we'll go down first before we make our way back up. So again, we will see. It all depends on timing. Now let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, again, still just like the market. Again, it hasn't detached from the market at all. Just waiting on news is what we're doing. The market is just, financials will pop and drop. And when the financials are dropping, tech will push. It's pretty much what's been going on. Again, gold is still looking like recession gold. When gold is pushing up, that's recession worries. That's about the only time gold actually starts pushing. So just keep that in mind. We'll see what happens there. There's been a lot of volatility in the bonds, which has been kind of having these crazy intraday moves, from selling heavy to turning around and then wicking right back up. So again, banks heavily manipulating that. Tesla, again, showing weakness again today, but playing a very tight range, roughly again between that 175 and that 167. We'll see if this thing can break back down. I'd really like it to break the 160 and then head for that 170. It's having a tough time even trying to fill this gap up to at least the 178. A lot of times it starts out strong and then gets rejected hard. So there's still some really heavy sell pressure. And that's something when I talk about price action. Those are the things you got to kind of pay attention to, is when you get these really heavy sell pressure on these resistance areas. And we keep seeing that even on the general index. The market doesn't want the market to go up as it believes there's a bigger move coming here. So Palantir had a strong start. But again, it's holding this resistance. A lot of these resistance, the market's been sitting at a really heavy resistance. And like I said, once everything starts looking the same, that's when you get normally a big move to the downside. So we'll see what happens, but it's rejecting hard off the 10. If this thing can't stay above 10, this is going to be an issue for Palantir. And I can see this coming back down to the 735. So we'll see how that goes there. BA, again, same range, 220 to the 195. No difference there. JPM, banks really kind of struggling. Everything, like I said, everything is like chopping, waiting for the next big piece of news to hit. I think that's all we need. Once we have that piece of news, that's going to be it. And that can drop at any moment. As of right now, what's scheduled is scheduled. Again, I don't think we're going to see anything big on the schedule coming in until the FOMC notes and then the next monetary policy and the next core. Now it's kind of just open. Now it's just waiting to see what news drops, what breaks is ultimately what we're doing, because the Fed have still increased 25 and we still won't see that 25-point basis move increase for a couple months down the road unless we start cutting. And if the bonds are true to what they're saying, we should start seeing some cuts here pretty soon before the end of the year. But that means that we're going to have something major happen, something bad and major happen. What will it be? I don't know, but we know what the end story is. So that being said, I don't want to make this video too long because, again, we are still waiting. The market is just chopping and we're waiting for news. And when we get that news, then I think it will be big and we'll get a direction and you'll know when it happens. So with that being said, if you made this far, go ahead and drop a like. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.